There have always been two factions of traders fighting relentlessly for the same pile of profits. One side completely abandons reason, trying to make as much money as fast as possible, like turning just $6,000 into $105,000 in a month. The other side uses time to its advantage and holds for years, turning just $3,000 into $558,000. And then there are the rare few who strike perfect balance between YOLOing and patience, turning less than $10,000 into $1,026,000. And it is my honor to present to you a trader who goes by the name of Frogger1004. He's saying God bless America and God bless Tim Cook, as he's up by 3,512% or $102,183, bringing his account to more than $105,000. And all of that happened in about a month. So to begin, he started trading options a little over a month ago on April the 24th. That was his first time buying an option, and it was a put on Meta, which made him a few grand, and then he kept trading his account up until he got it to $6,000. But despite his consistent success, like most traders, he wanted to see what it's like on the other side to WallStreetBets. So on May the 20th, without a second thought, he decided to full port with about $5,750 on Apple calls, expiring in about a month. And just 2 days after opening the trade, he was already up by $3,000. Even though his account has never been worth so much and he wasn't sure what to do, he decided to keep on holding. In 2 weeks time, his patience was greatly rewarded with a 600% or a $38,000 gain in a single day, bringing his account to $45,000. He wanted to sell the position the next day in the morning, and once again, despite being in unknown territory of completely unbelievable gains and low battery percentages, while still being just 19 years old, he decided to hold for another day. And here we are with his account being worth $105,000. Now the fact that he started with just $100 and worked it up to $6,000 to then YOLO it to make more than $100k is just incredible. For anyone wondering, he sold the position for $96,250, is still holding different calls worth about $10,000, is setting money aside for taxes, putting the rest into index funds, and he's going to trade for fun with $10k. But there are ways to get to more than $100,000 without completely YOLOing, and that is when patience and a bit of strategy come in. Just like when a trader who goes by the name of Astro finally hit 100k after 5 years. Now if we ignore that losing stint, his chart looks very consistent. He's up by 1,116% or about $92,000, which means that he started with just around $8,000, and he's been able to achieve that because his mom let him live rent-free for 2 years while he worked, allowing him to put all of his money into the stock market. If any of you get the chance to do this, do it. He hasn't worked in a year and is able to pursue full-time school. He tried to learn options, but he became too much of a so he went all in on tech stocks like Microsoft and Nvidia. He tried Boeing at one point, EV ETFs, ARK, renewable energy, and so on, but all of them either stayed even or lost money. After he got rid of those and still had Nvidia, Microsoft, and a few other tech stocks left, he just sat back and relaxed, as he hasn't bought a stock in like 3 years. And he got into tech because it has never really been a risky long-term investment. Even without the Nvidia push these past few months, he still tripled his original investment. But there is another trader who used Nvidia and time to his advantage to make even larger gains. He goes by the name of Jaegernaut1, and he's up by an unbelievable 18,000% or $555,000. Now just to give you the true magnitude of this gain, he opened the position with just $3,010.63 and bought $3,000 3,000 Nvidia shares at an average buying price of just $1. So yeah, he bought a bit of Nvidia about 7 years ago when they announced that they wanted to be the chip maker that ran autonomous cars. He thought that was the next big thing, so he bought a small stake. Who knew AI would take off? If only he added a zero to his purchase, he would have more than $5 million. As for his stock picking, he says that sometimes you don't need to necessarily know a lot. He basically chooses a stock when he hears about something that makes a lot of sense and it's about a company he thinks will be around for a long while. He then dumps $2,000 to $3,000 into it and never looks again. For example, in the spring of 2007, he heard that Apple was going to launch the iPhone later that year. He thought that it would be a game changer to the phone industry. He liked Apple, so he bought $3,000. Interestingly, although the return has been awesome, it's still not even close to Nvidia. But some traders don't have to just YOLO or be patient and hold for years. Just a few find the balance between the two. And one such trader goes by the name of Mega Jigglypuff. He turned 170k into more than $1 million in the past 6 months. And to top it off, he's just 25 years old and this was his own money. So yeah, year to date he's up by 501% or $855,000, bringing his account to $1,026,000. He owns a lot of different Nvidia cards with expiration dates ranging from the end of June all the way to 2026. And while he still has a lot of open positions, he already secured about $270,000 worth of profits. Even though this Nvidia gain is absolutely insane, I'm more interested in how he got $170,000 to invest at just 25 years old. And well, he got it from trading and 4 years salary plus 5 years on and off part-time at $10 an hour. He started at 15 years old by putting summer job money in a custodial brokerage account and made a lot by buying and holding tech stocks. Later he got into options on Robinhood and did well, but lost 90% of it during the start of 2020 pandemic and was left with under 10k in total, which he moved to a Roth IRA. In 2021 he got lucky on GameStop and turned 12k into 90k in his Roth, which was all the spare funds he had at the time. The other 80k in his account was pretty much his salary over the next 3.5 years parked in QQQ. You know how he was left with under 10k during the pandemic? Well, his parents also called the cops to kick him out at 21 during the lockdowns. Anyway, earlier this year he sold QQQ and bought Nvidia shares, then he decided to use profits to get 40k of calls for recent earnings and another 30k the next day, and he kept rolling out profits. And yeah, here he is aiming for a 7-figure tax bill this year. Some traders though find a way to safely YOLO and still make huge gains, and one such trader goes by the name of Delta Lore. Recently he turned $311,000 into almost $1 million, but to find out how he does it so safely and consistently, we have to go 3 years back when he made a 10k gain on Tilray shares, with his whole portfolio being worth around $112,000. A couple of months later he turned $38,000 into $58,000 with Google calls and just 4.6k into $31,000 in just 2 days with Qualcomm calls. He continued making more and more gains until he posted this completely insane gain, 702% or $2,141,465.69 on Apple shares. He spent about $300,000 on display, held it for about 8 years and got it all the way up to $2.4 million. At the time he was thinking about selling it in a year. The stock was trading at about $177, so if he held until now he'd make additional 18% or $400,000. While he was holding that, he continued making gains on calls like Nvidia and well, Nvidia again, but this time a much larger gain, combining for 150k gain in a day and a total gain of about $1.2 million. Not to be frightened by the gains, he decided decided to hold for another 2 weeks, bringing his total gain to $2,156,000. And despite selling a couple of these contracts, he decided to hold on to most for a few months. He hasn't made an update on this position since March the 7th, and since then the stock went up around 40%, printing him even more gains. As time went on, he posted another Nvidia call position, on which he was up by $117,000. He also made $169,000 on Apple calls, and that brings us to his Broadcom gain, with which he turned $211,000 into $941,000. And he bet on it because it's a quality stock, as it beat earnings and guidance. It might take a breather, but he sees no reason to not hold this for the long term. Then he made some nice gains on Adobe, and then he jumped into SPY 1 week till expiry calls, which is quite different than his usual strategy. He wasn't using technical analysis and was simply following trends. Having that said, he has had temporary losses, but he typically buys calls at least a month out minimum, and all losses have been erased simply due to the fact that we are in a strong bull market. So essentially what he's saying is he has positions where he has been down by 50% but didn't sell them and recovered from those losses. A lot of luck involved though. He buys quality stocks and follows macroeconomic trends, which leads him into his investments. No technical analysis or anything goofy like that. And if you want to see how this trader made $4.5 million in a single day, click on the video just popped up. If you like my content, make sure to subscribe, and thanks for watching.